What's up guys, welcome back to Move Plus. Hope you've had a good week so far. Our workout today is going to have 4 pieces to it. So we'll have the warm up as per usual guys. We'll get everything ready to go, loosen up the joints. From there we're going to go into the build workout, which is going to be a 12-minute time cap, 3 or 4 movements in that one. From there we go into the move, which is going to be 8-minute alternating EMOM. We'll see some dumbbell snatches and some dumbbell slides. And then we have a finisher of a fair bit of midline work as well. So looking at the warm up guys, we're going to start off with 2 minutes of cardio of your choice. So you can pick what you want to do there. We're going to mix 2 movements together with this one. So we're going to go up downs for 10. So it's up and down from the ground. We then go into jumping jacks for 20. And those 2 things will just alternate back and forth for that 2-minute block. The following 3 minutes, we're going to do as many rounds as we can of 10 bent over rows. So that is a deadlift position, pulling the dumbbells up outside the body. We then go into 8 lateral jumps over the dumbbell. So sitting up next door to it there, going back and forth, and then going into 3 reps on right and left on a single-sided deadlift. So 1 dumbbell going down the side of the leg there. So 3 on one side, 3 on the other. Keeping that back nice and straight. Good to go, Em?
Yep.
All right, starting in 10, so 2-minute block of cardio to start off with. We're doing our up downs and jumping jacks. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So important to just ease into this stuff slowly, guys. If you've been sitting still all day, that sort of thing, and this is finally your time to break out and move, just allow yourself a slow, steady up ramp into the intensity. You don't want to go all out all of a sudden. So if you're doing the same movements as us, the up down, we're looking at hitting a push-up position at the bottom. So nice tight trunk. We don't want to let those hips sag through. And then a nice tall stand up at the top. Once you've done that, you're going to move into the 20 jumping jacks. So that is feet jumping in and out, arms going from thighs up to a contact overhead, or at least getting close overhead, and just bouncing on the balls of the feet. So we'll go through this for the 2 minutes, and then we'll move into that next 3-minute section. So hands are going to be about shoulder width underneath, guys. When you come down, you don't want to go too wide with this one. You want to stack them nicely, nice and narrow. Get those elbows locked out, shoulders active, so you're kind of protracting and pushing the ground away. And you'll notice that the feet will jump kind of narrow at the back and then split slightly open at the top. And that's just going to allow for that easier hip angle. We can see Em getting that nice high hip position. As she comes up, she kind of jackknifes the hips to come up out of that rather than tucking into a ball. Okay, 40 more seconds. So remember, the next section we're going to move to, you guys, 3 minutes doing as many rounds as you can of 10 bent over rows, 8 lateral jumps over the dumbbell, and then 3 reps on right and left with that single arm dumbbell deadlift. Ten seconds. Okay, so getting ready for the 3-minute section. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So 10 bent over rows is first up. So we're going to take that nice deadlift position with that straight back. Dumbbells are below the height of the knees. We're in a nice deep reaching stretch. And then pulling them back as if we're pulling the torso through the arms or through the dumbbells. We go to 8 lateral jumps over the dumbbell now. So this one's going to be fairly quick back and forth. And good idea to just kind of keep the eyes down just slightly so you keep a check of where that dumbbell is. From here, she's going to go through the single-sided deadlift. It's a narrow stance with this one, okay? And you'll notice you're kind of going to get funneled into doing that anyways. When you've got the single-sided dumbbell, you're not going to want to stand wide, because it means that arm's going to have to reach outwards. All right, moving back onto the bent over rows. Now, really important with this one, guys, we're thinking about where we're actually trying to work, which is your lats and all the muscles around the back of the shoulders. So think about squeezing your back and getting your shoulder blades to pull together. With the lateral jumps over the dumbbell, we're going to keep the feet close together and basically just stay on the balls of the feet the whole time. So shouldn't really be heels down at any point with that one. Now, one of the things that's going to be important to do with this single-sided deadlift, guys, is not be tempted into twisting or rotating the torso. You almost want to imagine you have a dumbbell in the other hand, and that way the arms are going to stay nice and level. We can keep everything nice and squared up. Now, if you find it really hard to get the front end of the dumbbell to the ground, guys, just go a little bit less depth. So go maybe just past the knee. It's really important we keep the back nice and straight. We don't want to overreach just to get to the ground. 1 more minute on this. So you see the positioning that regardless of where Em's actually looking with her eyes, her head and her chest are kind of aimed to the front. She's not dropping that down or tucking her chin down. We don't want to have that upper back start to curve over, and then that's going to cause the lower back to curve over. We get into a bad position with that. Okay, 30 more seconds. Ten seconds. 3, 2, 1, and done. All right, guys, so that is the warm-up done. Have a bit of a chill for a moment, and then we're gonna have a look at the build section next. Alrighty, guys, so we're gonna check out the build section now. So with this one, we have a 12-minute time frame. You guys are gonna get through 3 sets, so roughly looking at about a 4-minute block per set. What we're gonna move through is 15 reps on a dumbbell good morning. So holding the dumbbell to your chest, okay, stance nice and narrow, and then we are hinging over at the hips, keeping that back nice and straight. 15 reps on that then rolls into 7 reps right and left on a dumbbell around the world. So this one, we are rolling around the head, right? So working at sort of shoulder strength, shoulder mobility. 7 one way, 7 the other. The last piece is a 1-minute quad hold. So we're gonna come down to like a bear crawl style position, and we're just holding there as a static position. So ideally, if we can get through this in kind of about 3 minutes, that gives you a 1-minute break before the next round, and we get it done in that 12-minute time cap. Good to go, Em?
Yep.
All right, starting in 10, so we've got the good mornings first, 15 reps. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. Now with this movement, guys, the important piece is the hinging part, right? Where you actually hold the dumbbell or how you hold the dumbbell is really more of a personal comfort thing. Em's gonna hold on to either head, but you could also do it like goblet style. You could stack it on the back of the shoulders, whatever it is, as long as it's safe and it feels like it's gonna stay in the one spot and not move around as you're going in and out of it, that's totally fine. Looking at the actual positioning of the body, the stance is close, shins stay vertical, and there's a softening of the knees, but not an excessive bending of the knees. So she's just allowing that little bit of range through the hamstrings. She's leaning the body with the spine moving as one piece, so we're not seeing any rounding over or changing a spinal position. And when she gets to 15, we're gonna move into those around the worlds. All right, so with this one, guys, you want to think about sort of a line that goes around your head about chin height, and we're trying to keep that dumbbell or that weight around that line. So making sure that we get this nice big range of motion. You should find that at the back, both of your elbows should be pointing up at the roof, and at the front, both of the elbows should be pointing down in kind of a front rack position. So 7 one way, 7 the other. This is just working on shoulder mobility and strength in some sort of odd positions, okay? But it's gonna get those shoulders nice and healthy. From here, we're gonna go into that hold. So we're gonna go at about the 30-second marker there. So 1 minute on this one. We've got the feet and the hands set up at about shoulder to hips width, somewhere in there. And the hand should be straight underneath the shoulder. So don't have them out in front or behind them. When I'm straight underneath, knees are gonna stay close to the ground. Now this is a really important one, right? This is kind of pushing ourselves into a less comfortable position. It's gonna make us fitter and stronger. So making sure that you don't have that urge to sort of press the legs to lock out, pushing that butt up to the roof. You're gonna stay nice and low and work through that hold, keeping the knees about 2 inches off the ground. So you'll probably find that not only will your midsection burn, but you're gonna find your shoulders and your quads as well are gonna really have to work hard to support this position. Got about 10 more seconds. And resting. Okay, so we'll rest through till about the 4-minute marker here. So having a bit of a chill. I'm gonna look at the next 2 rounds. Okay, so 1 more minute. So hopefully this is sort of around the latest that we should be finishing that round. So we do want to make sure we factor in some recovery time. If you find that you finished way earlier than we did, maybe it's a little bit easier, you can slow the tempo down with things. So anytime we can add extra time and attention is going to make it more challenging. So feel free to do that if you've just got the one weight option at home, maybe it's a light kettlebell or something like that, slow things down. 30 more seconds. Okay, 10 seconds. So we'll get ourselves ready to go for that good morning again. Remember, it's 15 reps. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So this movement by its nature, guys, is better done slowly. So make sure we're thinking about like maybe a 3 to 5 second down and a 3 to 5 second up. So it's nice and controlled. That lean over position when we've got a weight so kind of high up on the body is one that we want to make sure we're really stable. We're not rushing through it or getting pulled out of position. So doing it slow is just going to make it more and more safe, more stable. As you go through it, you want to kind of have an awareness of what your actual pelvis is doing, right? Because that's where we want to have the actual movement, is the hip socket itself. We don't want to feel like the spine is rounding anywhere along the way. The pelvis is actually going to kind of come with us. We're going to tip and sort of point your butt to the back wall as much as you can. In doing that, you'll feel your hamstrings get this really nice big stretch, and then they'll contract to draw you back up again. All right, so moving through the around the worlds. Again, another good one to do kind of slow. Obviously, you don't want to whack yourself in the head or anything like that. So just keeping it nice and close and remembering that line of sort of chin height. If you find yourself kind of just floating high and the elbows aren't really doing much moving, you want to actually get deep down behind your head level behind you so those elbows get popped up nice and high. You can see there's a lot of movement through Em's elbows as she rotates through, which is what we're after. I want to see those shoulders go through a nice big full range of motion. All right, so coming down to that quad hold. So we'll go from the 540 through to the 640. So you notice in that the last round, Em did take a couple of breaks. That's totally fine. We just want to try to push to fill up that minute as much as you can. And just concentrating on sort of drawing belly button to spine, staying nice and rigid through here, nice active shoulders. So none of your body feels like it's sort of slouching or relaxing into it. Okay, 10 more seconds. And resting. All right, so another big rest until we hit the 8-minute marker, and we'll hit that last round. So feel free on the breaks, guys, have a bit of a move around, shake things off. If anything's getting tight or sore, stretch it out a little bit, and then we'll reload for that third and final round. Okay, 20 seconds. All right, we'll get that dumbbell up and ready to go. So final round, guys. We'll move into this one in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So hinging at the hip again. The ultimate goal of this is to be able to get down to that position where the back is almost flat across. So it's about a 90-degree bend at the hips, possibly even more if you're really flexible. The main thing is we don't want to just try to push for that just because that's where we're going to get to. We want to make sure that the spine is staying flat along the way. So allow the hamstring flexibility to open up over time naturally. Don't try and force the position. Might be a good idea, if you're doing this from home, maybe set up over the edge of like a couch or a table if it's a good height. And that can be just a sort of a touch marker so you know that you're going the full range of motion every time. So 7 reps each side we're doing with this around the world. And just taking your time nice and slow as you move around this one. Again, don't want to clunk yourself in the head. You want to allow the shoulders that time to be exposed to those more difficult positions so they get stronger in them. Nice. All right, so come down to the quad hold. So we'll go from the 940 if you want to start 3, 2, 1. All right. So keep checking in as those legs and shoulders get tired, guys. Keep checking in. The knees are still staying low. The body will do it without you even knowing. It'll start to just press the legs a little bit higher. It'll kind of push the body back behind the hands. We want to fight against that, deliberately push into that stress position because that's what's going to make us stronger and fitter. Twenty more seconds. And resting. All right, so we've got just a little over a minute left on the timer, guys. So if you are still going, keep working through it. Use up that time, get as much strength work in there as you can. If you have finished, have a bit of wander around, do a little bit of mobility work. We're going to move on to the next section in a second, but we'll take about 1 more minute to get up to that 12-minute marker. Okay, last 30 seconds. And that is time. All right, that's our 12 minutes in the build workout, guys. Have some recovery time, and then we're gonna check out move next. All right, guys, so we're gonna check out the move section now. This one is 8 minutes in length, and it's an alternating EMOM. So what we're gonna see in minute 1 is alternating dumbbell snatch for 50 seconds on and 10 seconds off. So that's gonna look like this. Okay, so that's minute 1. From there, we go to minute 2, which is going to be dumbbell slides. Again, 50 seconds on, 10 seconds off. So setting up push-up position and moving that dumbbell right to left underneath the body. So along the way, obviously you can take rest where you need to, but you're always guaranteed that 10 seconds at the end of the minute anyway. So try to fill up the 50 seconds with as much work as you can. Good to go? Yep. All right, starting in 10s, we're going for 8 minutes on this one, alternating dumbbell snatches first. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So looking at a nice explosive movement here, guys, it's a rapid hip extension. So although the arm is going to play a role in this, it's going to play less of a role than it looks like it does. So the hips and the legs really are creating probably 80 to 90% of the power here, and the arm is really just finishing the movement off. So Em's going to keep a really nice straight back. She's going to keep her shoulders fairly square. There'll be a little bit of rotation, obviously it being a single-sided movement. But for the most part, she's just going to drive it with that straight back. The hips and legs are going to extend right up in that, almost like a jumping position. That's going to flow through to a shrug. And by that stage, the dumbbell should already be flowing nicely right up to overhead. The arm is just going to kind of punch it to finish. 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1, and resting. So 10-second breather. We're going to move to the slides next. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So with this one, the name of the game is all about stability, right? Like in the snatch, we kind of talked about trying to keep the shoulders square and bracing through that midsection, holding steady. This one is even more about that. So the stance is going to be probably shoulder width or even just slightly wider. The hands are going to be similar, but maybe a little narrower, right? So we sort of form almost like a really narrow triangle kind of a shape. And the dumbbell is just being dragged side to side across the body to about that shoulder width. So you will find this very taxing on the shoulders because both of these movements are shoulder based. One's a little bit more pull, one's a little bit more push with this lockout position we have on the ground here, but it's going to toast those shoulders either way. And resting. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So the stance with the snatch, guys, is going to be sort of shoulder width or even just slightly wider, almost out to like a sumo kind of a stance. If you've got quite tight hips and hamstrings and things like that, go wider. It'll allow you to get a little closer to the ground. And we're seeing the dumbbell touch both heads to the floor, not just the front one. That way we get that nice flat touchdown, gets a nice deep pull. We look at Em's feet as she moves through this. They're going to be nice and grounded at the bottom, so nice sort of lockdown heel through the bottom of the pool. Right at the peak, when she hits that big hip extension, she hits that kind of jumping motion. The heels are going to pop up just a little bit for a moment, and then they'll land back on the ground as that dumbbell comes to its final resting position at the top there. And resting. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. Now, although this is going to kind of predominantly be about your midsection, this one that's going to do a lot of the stabilizing, we want to actually extend that idea to the entire kind of complex around the hips. So glutes, low back, hamstrings and quads, everything through basically legs up to ribs, everything's trying to lock in place to steady us. The main thing you want to think about this one is not getting a side-to-side sway. That's what your body will be really tempted to do. As soon as you lift that hand off, you start pulling on that weight, the body is going to want to shift to counterbalance that. What we're trying to do is keep it in a difficult position by locking in, making it work that little bit harder. And resting. Okay, so past halfway now. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. And one thing Em's going to do to make sure that her hips and her glutes are doing a lot of the work to create that nice upward motion is she's driving the knees out, right? She's creating a space, so one, that's going to make it easier for that dumbbell to go through the legs, but it's also going to get those glutes really active. So she snaps those hips, it's going to create that extra little bit of power. Now the arm motion at the top, we're seeing it end up just back past her ear, so her head is just slightly forward of the arm. And that's going to give us that really nice secure lock-in position. She's keeping that dumbbell in like a neutral position to finish. So it's not palm to the front, it's palm facing inwards. And resting. Three, 2, 1, and go for it. Now last round we talked about the stability with the hips and the body there, trying to keep it in the center, trying not to sway right to left. One of the things I like to do with this one, just to check in that I'm staying really centered, is if you've got like a couch cushion or something small, rest it on your lower back. It will give you a lot of awareness. If that starts to move around or even fall off, you know that you're swaying those hips too much. So you want to try and balance it in the middle. Okay, 15 more seconds. So a little strategic break there just to get the burn out of the shoulders. And then we're back in again. And resting. Okay, so one more cycle of each. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. If we look at the transition from right to left with the hands, guys, Em's doing a switch on the way down. So she's waiting till that dumbbell kind of comes to about chest height. The other hand's kind of open and waiting. She's just going to drop that hand or drop that dumbbell into the hand as she goes. She can also change on the ground as well. So she would take it all the way down, change sides. So that's sort of, if you're maybe a little newer to the movement, you're not quite up to coordinating that fast switch over, just bring it all the way down, take your time to reset. Check in that that back's staying nice and straight as you change from right to left. And resting. Okay, coming up on the final round for this one. And go for it. So dumbbell slides to finish it off. And we set up that kind of tripod sort of position. So feet are a little wider than shoulder width, hands are a little narrower than shoulder width. Just kind of makes that sort of that nice stable position that if I take a hand off, I'm not going to completely fall over to one side. If you feel like you're kicking the leg out from a table and it's going to tip over, we're not doing the right thing. We want to create a position where we can lock in and kind of hold there, even if it's just 3 points of contact. 20 more seconds. Three, 2, 1, and done. All right, guys, so that is the move workout finished. If you want to take a little bit of recovery time, get some water in, we have a finisher coming up next. All right, guys, so we're going to have a look at our finisher now. This one is going to be short and sweet. It's 4 minutes, alternating EMOM style. What we're going to be doing in the first minute is heel taps over the dumbbell. So kind of like a V-sit position, straight-legged, and we're just going from right to left over the top of the dumbbell there. We'll do that for 45 seconds out of the minute. The second minute, we're going to do hollow rocks for the same kind of setup. So 45 on, 15 off. And that is nice straight limbs. We can also do a scaled version, which we'll have a look at once the workout is on. Oh, there we go, a short tuck. So 4 minutes on that one. You good to go, Em?
Yep.
All right, starting in 10 with the heel taps over the dumbbell. Going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So first thing we want to notice with this, guys, is the setup, because this is really important. The width of the hands, right? We are moving the legs and the majority of the body side to side, so the rest of the body is going to want to kind of counter turn with that. The arms are going to allow us to control that movement, so stop us from feeling like we're going to just twist and turn all over the place. We're being able to lock ourselves in place and then pivot from that midsection as we go side to side. Now, you want to check in that we've got the legs nice and straight and the toes pointed. This might be easier for some of you than others. If you've got tight hamstrings, it'll be a bit of a challenge, but do the best you can. 10 more seconds. So just tapping the heels on the ground. If you don't happen to have a dumbbell, guys, use a couch cushion or something like that. And resting. So 15-second break here. We're going to move to the hollow rocks next. Same setup with the time frame. Going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So this is the full hollow rock, okay, and that is arms and legs extended. We basically rock from the top of the butt to almost the bottom of the shoulder blades, sort of that mid back. And we're trying to create a nice sort of curvature, so it's a nice smooth back and forth. You ever feel like you're kind of clunking or hitting like a flat surface? Try to pull your ribs down into your belly a little bit more, roll your pelvis back a little bit, try and curve that low back out, and that will smooth it out. And we've got a similar kind of leg situation to the heel taps of the dumbbell in that the quads are flexed, ankles are pinched together, and the toes are pointed. Just going for maximum tension through that lower body. And resting. Okay, so another 15-second break. We're going to go through that one more time, guys. We've got those heel taps again. Going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So we use a little bit of a lean back. This is especially important, again, if you have tight hamstrings, you'll find it hard to get into a really tight position. So lean back just slightly. That'll help kind of counterbalance, makes for an easy movement. And then just moving at a pace that's sort of maybe a rep or 2 per second. So not super quick, not super slow either. We just want to keep it nice and rhythmic along the way. "15 seconds. And resting. So we're going to move to our final round, which is going to be the hollow rocks one last time. And this one we'll have a look at the scaled version, which is going to be that short tuck hollow. Going in 3, 2, 1. So with this one, we are creating the same curvature through that low back, still going from the top of the butt to the bottom of the rib, bottom of the shoulder blades. But this time we've got the knees bent, and you notice that the ankles are still pulled together, toes are still pointed, that's still the same. But we've just shortened the legs in, we've brought the arms from overhead down to a side position. And really important with that, guys, don't hang on to your legs. Sometimes if the abs are starting to blow up, we tend to hang on to the legs to make it a bit easier. You just got to keep them clear and make those abs do the work. So last 15 seconds. So you notice with this, much like the full hollow, the shoulders themselves never touch the ground. We always keep them kind of pulled up. That's going to help with that kind of ribs down position. And resting. All right, guys, so that is the finisher done. Grab some water, have a bit of a chill. We're going to go through some stretching to finish off. All right, guys, so now that all the hard work's done, we're going to cool things down with a little bit of mobility work. The first drill we're going to do is a slow Cossack squat. So I'm going to chuck a minute timer on and taking a wide stance, sinking down to the corner and then back up and to the other corner. We just go side to side for this one. So think about sort of maybe 3 seconds down to a 3-second pause and then 3 seconds up, that sort of thing. Couple of things we want to think about positioning wise. The leg that we're sitting to, so her left leg right now, the heel must be on the ground. So even if you've got to hang on to something like the leg of a dining room table or something like that to let yourself sit back, make sure you're not pitching up onto the toes and overloading that knee. Speaking of that knee, we want to make sure that knee is driven outwards so it's tracking with the toe. Now the straight leg, so she comes to this side now, we're going to look at that left leg, the toe is going to wind up to point at the roof, and that just allows us a little bit more mobility to get down into that bottom position. We're really looking at getting into sort of hamstrings, groin, hips, the whole deal through there. You'll even get a little bit of ankles and calves too because of that nice deep squat position. And done. All right, so that's our first drill. Now the second one we're going to do is what we call dragon. So we're going to do this for 45 seconds each side, and it's a really, really long lunge position. What she's going to do is take her right arm, which is the same side as that leading leg, elbow as close to the ground as you can do it, and then she's going to reach out and look and point at the roof and move in and out of that one really, really slowly. So she can go elbow to ground, which is the ultimate long-term goal to move to. You might find you can kind of get halfway there, and as you move through this, you'll be able to get an inch closer, that sort of thing. Don't force it, but allow the body to kind of get there naturally. As you come down into that elbow reach, you're going to drive the knee out to the side. Okay, at the top here, nice and open through the chest. Okay, and we will switch sides. So another 45 seconds on the other side now. So much longer than our normal lunge, right? We've got that trailing legs almost completely straight out of the back of us. And then in and out, getting that nice open up across the chest. This is going to be really good for hip mobility, things like squatting and stuff like that. It's going to help loosen up for that sort of thing. And it's a nice flush out at the end of a workout as well. Okay, 10 more seconds. And done. All right, so those are our 2 drills, guys. If you have time, go through that 3, 4 more times, whatever you've got time to do. Loosen up the body. I hope you guys have had a good time with that workout. We'll catch you next time. That was your MOV+ workout.